Tanya, my Bible's a lot smaller than yours. I think that means you're a bigger sinner.
Pretty sure. That's what that means. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Tanya. What an amazing testimony. And my baby cousin. Wow. Wow, that is amazing. I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. I'm not proud of your sister for going to Duke. I tell you that. We are a Gamecock family. At least you didn't go to Clemson. God rest all their miserable souls. But we're sorry about that. But thank you for your heart. Thank you for what you shared. So I want to share with you how this ministry, where you're sitting right now, how God produced this, how he created this, how this was born out of prophecy. And so I have a Bible with me that I want to share because the prophecy about this very ministry is written in this Bible. And some of you are wondering, what is this thing? Back in the day, we carried our Bibles with us to church. It was a thing. It was a thing. Right? We were cool when we did that. Right? I know. Okay. We don't have to do that anymore. There's an app for that. Or as my mother calls it, an ab. She calls them abs. So, all right. So I want to read to you. I want to explain to you a little bit about how God prophesied this, how he told me how to name it, what icuTalks means, what stories worth telling, what it really means, and tell you a little bit about what I think he has for us tonight. So this prophecy was done on March 28, 2004. I had 9 years of sobriety when this happened. And I'm going to tell you the first miracle was one, I was at a church, because you heard about my family. So I was at a church. But they had these teams, they had prayer teams, and you could walk up and they would pray for you and they would prophesy over you. And I need you to know that for me to walk up and receive, I wasn't raised that way. I wasn't raised I was worthy to let somebody pray over me, much less give me a word from an almighty God. And I remember I walked up and these people I've never seen before started praying for me. And again, I had 9 years sobriety at this time, and I was in this process of learning to let other people see me learn how to see myself and to know how God sees me. And I want you to hear this, that our healing begins when we're able to see the unseen. And so me being able to listen to this, and I wrote down what they said to me that day, and they told me that I was a leader. They told me I had administrative skills. They told me that I would publish a self-help book, Tanya, which I did, thank you very much, Tanya. They told me that people would actually see me. And see, they didn't even know how valuable that was. See, I come from a mom who couldn't see me, couldn't receive me, couldn't love me, would tell me that my best wasn't good enough and that it never would be. And from a young age, she just couldn't love me. And so what I learned when I tried to be seen, when I tried to have my emotional needs that Tanya talked about be seen, I learned that I would be shamed. So I learned it was shameful to be seen. And so these people were telling me that I would be seen and that I would feel invalidated, but people would actually see me, and that God was going to take everything that I've been through. He saw every tear. He saw every bit of pain, and that he was going to use it. They told me that I would be organizing speaking events, and that I wouldn't be the big speaker first, that we would do workshops, which we call Mental Health University, the workshops we do here. They told me I was worthy. And see, I could walk up and receive this prophecy, which was a miracle, but after I wrote all this down, I wasn't worth it. I really couldn't bring it in. I couldn't receive any more of it to think that this amazing God, this prophecy, this idea of helping other people, that I was worth that. And I set it down. 10 years later, I was getting ready. And I was looking in the mirror. Now, during this 10 years, I'm still sober. And sobriety is hard fought. I did everything I could to learn how to be okay and how to be able to know who I really am, not who my mom told me I was, but to learn how to see me the way God saw me. And I was in this battle to learn all these things. And I got to a point, and this is the morning I was getting ready as a psychotherapist, and still am in private practice, and I was looking in the mirror, and I want you to know that the majority of my life, I have not been able to physically look in a mirror. And I'd done enough work that I could actually look in the mirror and get ready. And while I'm doing this, and I think that God did this on purpose, I think it was about seeing myself. I think it was about reflection. And while I'm getting ready and looking at myself, I heard God download this prophecy, this ministry where you are sitting. And he told me the name would be icuTalks. He told me the format. He told me 3 speakers. He told me it was about emotional needs of being seen. The stories worth telling was about people being heard. And I could receive it at that time. And I want to tell you a little bit about what the meaning of icuTalks is. When I first got sober, I had a sponsor who told me if I went to an AA meeting that was like a speaker meeting, like the chairs were like this, were set up, that I had to sit on the front row. She said, the front row is the intensive care unit. She said, you are very emotionally and spiritually sick, so you are to sit on the front row. Not only that, my people, she would sit behind me. And if something got said that she thought I needed to hear, she would kick the back of my chair. Don't kick my chair today, y'all. Nope. Homie, don't play that anymore. But back then, I was okay with it. So that's part of it. This is the intensive care. This is for those of us who are open about the fact that we're in a relationship with Jesus, or we're curious about Jesus, but we have emotional problems, and that's okay and that's lovable. And then this was the place where we could go and be seen and be heard. The second part of it, and God told me of ICU, is exactly that. It's about being seen. Not who your parents say you are, not who your teacher said you are, your essence. How God sees you, how he hears you. So let me explain this to you a little bit about why it's so hard for us to receive, to let it be okay for someone to hear us and see us for who we really are. So this is going to be really clinical. You ready for this demonstration? You ready? Okay. All right. So this is your initial wound. We all have this. We have this initial wound around trying to connect when we're young. So much of what we go through has a lot to do with our attachment, how we learn to attach to our parents, important people in our lives. And so when we're learning this and we're learning how to attach, and so there's a lot of times, and I'll say for me, like I would try to go to my mom and show her what I needed, and in that wound, I wasn't seen. And I was shamed for even needing something. And so we're called to be safe in connection, but a lot of us learn how to be safe in disconnection. And so this is the initial wound. This is me trying to be connected to my mother, trying to be connected to my attachment figure, and not being received in a way that was safe, and so being shamed instead. So that's my initial wound. So no one can tolerate that. So we develop what's called a protective self. That part is performative, tries to be perfect, overproduce, people please, approval seeking. And as Katie talked about, that protective part, that if you trying to be there for everybody, take care of everybody, be the top performer, make the best grades, get the highest degree, doing all that to cover your pain, because we get shamed and we believe who we actually are isn't good enough, so we have to just earn our status with people. If it doesn't work, that's where addiction comes in. See, most of us as kids, we are taught an earning mentality, and I don't honestly know how you would teach a child differently, but you have to earn your curfew, your allowance, parents' approval, you're spot on the cheerleading team, you're spot on the football team. So much of our childhood is a story of earning. And we get in that, and we're covering our initial pain of being scared of being rejected again. So that way, instead, we just try to earn people's attention. We just try to earn them liking us. That earning mentality is the opposite of God's story for you. Because God's story is of grace. Well, some of us know first what we see. This dictates how you see people, how you see your life, how you see situations, how you see God. It's based on how you learned if you were able to be seen safely or if you just had to protect yourself and it was performative. A lot of what happens to us of being able to try to learn how to be seen safely. When we're not able to do that, it dictates how we attach to people and how we connect, and a lot of us just stay disconnected. So y'all know that I've told y'all, if you know me 1,000 times, to go take attachment style tests, to go on this website, read this book, and all that's great and it's really helpful. But the place where you actually really learn how to attach to your parents, your grandparents, and the people, and to yourself is in the first 18 months of your life. And you have no memory of that. So how, as therapists, how we test that is that we show people pictures. So I got a picture for y'all. I'm going to show you this. So this is what I want you to do. We're going to be interactive for a second. I want to know what you see in this picture. Whatever adjectives come up, how you see it. What's the story that goes with this picture? What's that? Lonely? All right, it's great. What else? She's waiting. What's that? She's dreaming. All right, anything else that you see? Any other adjective? Anything else that you're seeing? Curiosity? That's great.
She's inside, not outside.
She's inside. Okay, great. Anybody else want to shout at me about this? She looks envious? All right, great. So Debbie sees that she looks envious. All right, fantastic. Good job. Okay, let's go to the second picture. Okay, what do y'all see in this? Take a second, think about it. Whatever comes to mind first, what do you see? Goodbye, they're in a fight. What's that? They're going on a trip. They love each other. Separation. They look nervous. Good. Hey, Bethany. Hey, Bobby. What's up? What's up? What's up? All right. She looks angry. Absolutely. She looks mad. It's good. What's that, Jennifer? Disconnected. Great word. Great word. All right. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. So I'm going to tell you what I saw when I saw, we'll go back to the first picture, and this is what I saw. I see a little girl who's either been abused or she's physically ill, and so she can't go outside, and she has no friends, and no one loves her. And I'm half of your therapist. And that's what I see. That's scary. That's what I see. Second picture. So this woman is in the orchestra. She plays an instrument. She's a top dog, and that guy, that white man, is her assistant. And they're on a trip because she's going to go somewhere and do this amazing musical thing. That's what I see. So whatever you see in both of those pictures is strictly about you and how you've learned to attach and connect in this world. And most of it comes in the first 18 months. How you see a situation, how you see someone else's situation, how you interpret the Bible, how you interpret those pictures, is based on what you've learned around connection. And that is why when you think someone else sees something the way you do, it's close to impossible that everyone gets to see those pictures differently. And it definitely shows if you have trauma, it shows if you have neglect, it shows a whole lot about your own personal history, how you saw those pictures. It's the story you come up with. So the story that we have for a lot of us, like my first story about my mom who couldn't love me, who rejected me, like if I stayed in that story, then I stay in alcoholism. This is an old story. As Tanya said, at some point we have to figure out how do we stop trying to earn and we learn to receive. So I want to talk to you about stories worth telling, because the stories we tell ourselves sometimes block us from knowing God's story for us. So I want to go to the Bible, my smaller, less sinful Bible than Tanya's. I can't hear you. You say someday you'll read it?
I'll order it.
Oh, thank you. Bring it in that purse of yours to my house, all right? Yeah. I feel like you know there's addicts here tonight, those of us in recovery, and that's why you took your purse with you. Josh, did you feel that? Like I felt that. I don't blame you. There's a lot of us in recovery here, so I think that was very, very appropriate, is what I would say about that. All right, we're going to be Christians. Hang on. All right, let's be Christians. Okay. So this is Matthew 13, 9 through 16. This is the Message version. This is Jesus, and Jesus has just been talking to the people who are following him around, and he just told them a story about planting seeds and doing these things. And then Jesus looks at them and he says, "Are you listening? Really listening?" And I can just see the disciples coming up after he said that and being like, "Yo, Jesus, why do you have to always tell stories? People don't get it. Why do you tell stories?" And Jesus replied, "You've been given insight into God's kingdom. You know how it works. Not everybody has this gift, this insight. It hasn't been given to them. Whenever someone has a ready heart for this, the insights and the understandings flow freely. But if there is no readiness, any trace of receptivity soon disappears." That's Jesus, y'all. Okay. That's why I tell stories, to create readiness, to nudge the people towards receptive insight. Let me tell you what receptive insight is, in my opinion. Receptive means to receive a compliment, receive a prayer, receive a hug, receive an idea, a new suggestion. See, if we're going to get out of an earning mentality of what we grew up in, the old story, you have to receive. No one moves from where they are without receiving. And how many of us have been shamed about the idea of wanting to receive? And so he's saying that you have to be able to receive and you have to have insight. What insight is being able to see the true nature of something or someone. Insight means you can see the underlying truth behind someone's behavior. And it also means intuitive understanding. A lot of you here, because of what you've been through, are very intuitive. You can read a room, you can read a situation, and you call yourself empaths. I call you trauma survivors. That's where that comes from. But you can use the nice word empath all you want. But Jesus is saying, I tell stories to create readiness, to nudge people towards receiving their essence, what's underneath what they've been through, to learn who they actually are, to have insight into who he says they are, and to see themselves the way he sees them. In their present state, they can stare till doomsday and not see it. I just need to tell you my interpretation of doomsday. I'm just going to tell y'all. So, the left lower limbic part of your brain, shut up, listen. The left lower limbic part of your brain, all right, is where your past lives. It's where your trauma lives. And all the things I just told you, there are protectors, those are all trauma responses, trying to be perfect, being performative, trying to please everybody. All those things keep you in a trauma state, and that part of your brain keeps you there and keeps you walking around the promised land. And you have certain thoughts that are born from that protective part. You have certain voices in your head that if you don't look at it differently and question it, you will think it's your voice. But it's things like, other people have it worse. And if you don't question that thought, you never get to what's underneath why you're needing to think that and protect that part of you. They don't see it. They don't go past their doomsday. They don't go past their initial thoughts. They don't go past how they think. They listen to the blue in the face and they don't get it because they stop at the protective voice that they've been hearing since they were a little kid, and they don't question anything else. I don't want Isaiah's forecast repeated all over again. Your ears are open, but you don't hear a thing. Your eyes are awake, but you don't see a thing. The people are blockheads. I love Jesus. I got to tell y'all. And I take blockheads as people who are blocked. That they're stuck in their thoughts and they're blocked and they can't have receptive insight. They can't take in something different than what they already know. See, another part, when you're in that part of your brain, left lower limbic, you only stay with where you feel safe. So when someone's different than you won't go any further, you won't feel safe. It's where racism lives, it's where homophobia lives, it's where your fear of someone else's religion lives. And that part of your brain, by the way, is not where God lives. He lives in the right side of your brain. And that's proven. Don't get mad at me. That's proven. They stick their fingers in their ears so they won't have to listen. They screw their eyes shut so they won't have to look. So they won't have to deal with me face to face and let me heal them. Do you hear that? If we're going to go face to face with Jesus, I have to be able to see the unseen. I have to stop stopping at that one thought that tells me, well, someone else has it worse than me. Or my life is horrible, it's not going to get better no matter what I do. I've got to go beyond that thought and go face to face with Jesus and let him show me what he can do with that if I'm ever going to heal from it. But you have God-blessed ears, ears that hear, and God-blessed eyes, eyes that see. See, Jesus called us into receptive insight. And if we don't get past our shame tells us that we're not worth anything but what we already know. Blame tells us we have to keep working for it. We have to earn it. And if I'm earning something, then I can't receive anything. And if I stay right there, what I believe and know about myself is all I'm going to ever believe and know about myself. And I will remain a blockhead. And I can't go face to face with him and heal. And so I share with y'all that about my mom and her struggle to just love me from when I was little on and just accept me and her incredible rejection of me. And God used my relationship with her to teach me about receptive insight. And there's proof of my life for receptive insight, and I want to share that with you. And either we're trying to prove our worth, or we can have proof that there's receptive insight in our lives. So there's 3 things I want to share with you that God shared with me. And please hear this. God reconciled myself before he reconciled my relationship with my mom. God reconciled my relationship with him before he ever told me to go talk to someone who abused me. He made sure that I had God-blessed ears and God-blessed eyes before I walked back into that relationship with her. And one of the first things he told me when I was trying to reconcile with my mom, and they'll put it up on the screen, is that he let me know. You want to throw that up for me? Thank you. He let me know that her story didn't have to add to my story anymore. See, my mom never got over her old story. And when I was pursuing her, trying to get her to see me, love me, trying to prove myself, trying to earn something from her, then my old story stayed an old story too. And God told me he had a new story for me, but I couldn't be in the old story. I couldn't be my mom's story. And that he was going to help her. I was not supposed to be the helper. It wasn't for me to do. And that her story no longer had to add to my story. The second thing that he taught me, he said, because my big thing with mom is how she treated me. And she didn't see me. And God told me, he said, it hurts you how she treats you. I said, absolutely. He said, then why don't you stop treating yourself the way she treats you? Because she didn't see me, but I didn't see me. That protective voice, that left lower limbic part where you have those thoughts that are so there, those thoughts, I was still in those and listening to those and running in that and just running around the promised land the whole time, and it was for me to see me and not her. And the third thing that he did was huge for me, is that he told me, he said, said, I need you to stop looking to the one who hurt you the most and start looking to the one who hurt the most for you. Then I don't mean this any disrespect I'm about to say to anyone who struggles with any type of physical limitation, but symbolically, my mom is Helen Keller. She can't hear me, she can't see me, and I kept looking to her to tell me that I was worthy. I was looking to the sickest person in the room for my health when I could look to the healthiest one I've ever known, and that's God, to find out who I really am. And that is a process of receptive insight. See, there's parts of me that I had to learn to see, and I had to surrender to the fact that she was ever going to see me. And instead, I started seeing me and seeing that part of me that was in so much pain. And learned that God could see me. And he saw my essence. He saw me before the abuse. He saw me before the trauma. And he taught me there's two things to look for if you're coming out of trauma. When you have a voice and you have a choice, you're moving towards him and away from what someone else did to you. So I want you to take a second. If you want to close your eyes, you can. You don't have to. But when you think about a part of you that hasn't been seen yet, it might be the 5-year-old in you, it might be a 15-year-old, it might be the person you are now, that there's something you're going through right now, there's something happening that you have not been seen, you have not been heard. You just take a second to look at that part of you. And just know the thoughts that are running around that pain, you don't have to follow that anymore. You can follow Jesus right towards that part of you. And see her, see him. And if you're comfortable, take a second and let that part of you, that younger part, that part that was lied to and told that they were unworthy, that part that was told they had to prove their worth, let them look up and see God right there with open arms, that sees you and hears you exactly as you are. There is nothing for you to prove. He already knows you, he loves you, and he sees you. And I want you to know, I see you.